episode of Bigpins Radius. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget and make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Share it. Share it with your people. Notifications. I'm your girl Naomi. Well, boy, I got my girl Fresher in the house, and of course the one and only Big Pin.
Yes,
and today we got a really special guest, Georgie. But Fresher's gonna go more into it.
Thank you, George, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
George Gachui, better known as Porgie, is a talent manager. He's done specific events, but better known as a guy who sells tickets.
No, better known as the guy who can probably get you tickets. And I'm not. Don't message me for tickets.
He runs the business. I always get you tickets. The man behind the brains of mymook.com. Mook.com. We're so happy you could be here. But because we're here on Bigpins Radius, we want to know how you met, like we always start this segment, and how you met Bigpin.
Yeah, tell us your version.
Your version.
So, I went to university at USIU.
Nice.
And at USIU one day I'm walking through and there's this crew of girls and one of them has a tattoo of a flower on her chest, on her upper chest. And you know it was a noticeable tattoo, beautiful and thingy, and I thought I'd had a line in a song about a chick with a tattoo, ya flower. And that was a Bigpin song, actually. Turns out this is the girl Bigpin was singing about. And this girl was actually Bigpin's girlfriend.
Oh, she got it tatted.
So she got a tat and everything. And me and her and her crew become friends. And then I see them in a music video and they're hanging out with all these cool guys from Agopa. And they had to become my friends. So one day I followed these girls. We were 2 guys in a crew of 6, 4 girls, 2 guys, me and a friend of Bigpins called Safari. Kama Safari Hatari Nagari. So one day we end up then riding in this crew and we go to Bigpin's house, which is where like the industry used to meet to play PS and prepare to go to the hang. And so from then, I think that's probably, if I was to put a year, 2004.
Wow! So it's been.
So that's about 17 years that I've known Bigpin. You know, from when it was called the Beast from the East, Chatello. He's gone through many names. So that's how I first met Bigpin, 16 plus years ago.
Is that your same version of your story?
Let me say my version. So, I'm dating this chick who's in USIU. USIU was like the plug, was like
the place to be.
Then USIU was really, like the place,
Yeah.
So if you're in USIU, you're already on a different league, they were just treated a bit differently. So I'm at home. So my chick now then comes with Safo, the Safo I'm talking about, and Porgie. So I meet Porgie for the first time. He's like he's Safo's friend and my girlfriend's friend, and another chick called Shogo. So they all come together. So that's the first time I meet Porgie. So Porgie, my first thought of Porgie is like, this guy is always like, he's always chilled. He's always like everything sort of revolves around him when it comes to making decisions of a plan of where to go to and how it's going to be the sector.
So it was always in you, the mastermind.
So I was like, okay, so with Porgie is always in the shoulders. Always. Clearly.
I'm very comfortable. Thank you guys.
So even at first I was like, I was a bit insecure. I was like, this guy, he's always hanging out with my shorty and this other chick, So
you didn't like him. You didn't like him at first.
Not like him. I was just like, I didn't know him. I was like, it's like I guys at Porges, and everyone is always, if you're Porges, like you're good.
Yeah.
It's like the place where people need to be. Because a good plan always comes from there. You get? It's like, but this guy's always hang out now like a bit too much. So that was at first. So I was like, But when it came to meeting now more into now hanging out, because now we used to hang out as a crew. Of course, me and my girls' crew. And Safo now, so we hang out and go to places and do events. Go to events and just, our relationship has always been based around good times and fun and just good road trips and just good. There's nothing like if you even ask me if there's anything bad which is always happening, it's always no. We went. Remember that time we were reporting? We went to that trip. Remember that time? Yeah, Porgie hooked me up with these tickets. So anyway, so from there it was just we were sort of like in the same space because he has. As you said before, he's a talent manager, so we're always sort of in the same spaces in terms of studios or radio stations or in the same field. He was more, which is, it's like it is a streaming site for music and Kenyan music, which is big. So we've always been sort of in the same industry, but it's just in different capacities. This guy, like I can't tell you.
He was always a superstar. That's the different capacity. And the guy carrying the water bottles at the back to go to BIGPIN.
The plug. That is so weird. Now it's us guys always looking for Porgie to give us a plug. Like, yo, bro,
what's happening?
I need a ticket. Do you know anyone? It's like Porgie always got to visit anyone who's coming, any event which is happening, any cool plan.
He has
cool plan. It's like a cool outfit or a cool Instagram page. Like, have you seen this page? I'm like, how did you get this page?
How did you know?
I always tell me, where do you always get all the cool things? Because you have like a different lighter, like a cooler list. Like, have you seen this? I'm like, where is it?
Where did you get it?
Get that? He's always amongst cool things. That's my
Guys, yeah. I'm going to need a recording of this for my own personal use. I think this is a great intro.
But that informs how you came up with the idea. Like, what made you see the niche behind like ticketing and what people? How did you see the gap? Was it like, were you frustrated like trying to get an event and you're like, we need this gap? What made you see that gap that needs to be filled?
Or was it that all your friends wanted tickets all the time?
That's like, let me just be the seller. Let me be the middleman. Yeah. No, it was actually it was a gap. So having worked with talent and then worked in event production, and I had the benefit of working in event production both here but also in some other countries. Oh, nice. There's a friend of mine who always says like I'm the one person they know who's been able to take their fun life and the thing they like and then turn it into work.
Yeah.
So then I always like being around parties. I always like being around musicians and understanding how the process is made. So I've been able to work a lot with talent and events across Africa, let's say.
Nice.
And so in part of that, then I realized that when you go to other markets, especially where the industry is a bit more developed, you have brands that support, you have governments that support, and then here we've been doing this 16 years, and you're always at the door trying to make sure ticketing isn't being stolen. All your money is literally at this door, and then there's bouncers, there's everybody trying to take.
And everybody wants to eat.
Everybody knows where the pot of money is. You can't hide the pot of money at an event. So for me, it was really just, I'm a believer in systems. I studied information systems, and so I'm a believer in like the systems should be able to work. So you code? Can you code? I don't code.
I was going to ask you.
I actually don't code. I don't code, but I understand how systems work, and so when MOOC was being developed, essentially we got a bunch of developers, and my business partner is called Eric Thimba. Him and I kind of do the project management. So we're the guys who say, after this it should go here, and then it should do this and that. And because I'd already worked on ground, I know where the loopholes are, so I know what to avoid in code, what to replace in code, what to leave for the humans, and also how to train the people who we work with at the door so that they're also more alert than your everyday guy. So that's kind of like what made us so successful in a short time. It's because we built for something we already understood. And then
you were on the ground and you saw the loopholes.
And when we did our first ticketing event, which was Africa Nouveau, one of the festivals by Modoni, Eric and I were the ones at the door scanning tickets and making sure the thing worked. So even in terms of understanding our own process, I helped to set up the company in Uganda, like from scratch. So training guys, going to gigs, setting up banners, and you just get to learn and interact a lot more with the core of the business, which is dope.
It's very nice.
Did you have to approach these events now in order to, get them to use your ticketing
service?
There's a couple we've had to approach. However, a good hack that we learned is that when you go for the biggest guys first. You know, you go for the Goliath first. You know, everybody else. So like when we did that first event, it was a very new event, but it was already being done by an established entity. And a lot of other smaller event organizers came for the event. A lot of musicians came for the event. So people who used the system at that first one were like, yo, this is such a good system. Do you guys offer this? We have another event in a month. Can we use it? And so we went from 1 to 100 clients without anything. Moved to about 200, 500 without any marketing. And so now we have maybe about 3,000 plus event organizers who use the system, another 1,500 or so artists who use it to sell their music.
Music. You also sell music on it.
Yeah, which happened interestingly. So my own day, I don't know if you guys know my own day. So my own day, who had used the system to buy tickets, and this was like 2016, and she was releasing an EP, and she has a closed circle. I don't want to call it closed, but she has a circle of audience that she already knows. So she was like, if there's a way that you can help me, the way you guys did the thing for Modoni where people can just pay M-Pesa and get a ticket, can people pay me M-Pesa and I send them the album to download? And I was like, maybe, you know, sat with the developers, guys, what if we change the process so that, and the fact that we didn't have to deliver a physical CD, which is something we've done. Where it's like BigPin is like, we're going for a show here, the CDs we're going to sell, you know, so because now we don't have to carry 100 physical CDs and then figure out change and that. Here's a link, buy it, it comes to your phone, you download. And so Mayonde was the first artist to ask for it. We built it for Mayonde. And then now you just...
That EP was fire.
It was called Made Magic in the Air.
So you still have those services
So we still have it. And so from there, we just made it a plug and play thing where any artist who wanted their music available for download can go create an account, upload the music, they get a link, they set the price. You share the link, people pay you, you get your M-Pesa to your phone.
Nice.
The difference, it actually comes to your M-Pesa. So it's like a direct sale. It's not going through and wait for months. You get like a report. It's like you go, buy.
Are you in East Africa or just in Kenya right now?
So we're registered in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. We're fully operational Kenya, Uganda. Rwanda was our last year plan before we all started wearing masks, you know. But Kenya and Uganda is fully operational. Uganda is just ticketing for now. But Kenya, Uganda, we do ticketing, we do music, and we do payments.
Did you look at Tanzania?
We weren't before because the political situation until just recently was not very favorable. But I actually, the place I honed a lot of my event skills was Tanzania. I worked there for a year and a half. And I'd also been in and out for a bit, but experiencing events like Fiesta there, which get 22,000, 23,000 people. Until today, 10, 15 years running, and the event will run 2 p.m. to 4 a.m., only local acts. People are singing word for word. The same music is what translates into what you hear on radio. So being around markets like that, and when I went into Tanzania, the thing I'd gone to do was to help establish kind of a little bit of a premium market. So when you think Tanzania, everything is mass. And that's how Diamond can have 6 million views in like 2 minutes. You know what happened? The whole country.
Support their artists.
They support their artists 100%. So when we think of Tanzania, you think of a lot of the stuff is made for the mwananchi to be able to consume. But they do have a very rich upper and middle class. It's very tiny, about 2 to 3% of their total population. But it's good money. And so to be able to develop experiences for them and connect brands to that audience. So I did that for a while, learned a lot, had to leave when the situation changed politically, but we're happy to see them come. I think Tanzania is an important part of the East Africa equation.
Definitely.
We can't operate, we can't operate without it. We can't ignore the lessons that the Diamonds and them have taught us about what we can do as an industry. So we're looking forward to hopefully going into Tanzania soon. But you know, inshallah.
You will, yes, you will.
Because if you have East Africa, you basically have, you know, the whole, you know, you have so much.
We're talking.
So what? Sorry. You managed an artist at some point.
Yes.
Who did you manage?
Yeah, let's take it back.
So how I entered the entertainment business after hanging out with these guys for a while and realizing they're packs. You mean you can just enter concerts and go to the back? You know what? This is beautiful. So what happened is I have family relations to DJ Styles and those guys. So I'd known them all my life from when I was a kid. And I used to go to their house, they'd be DJing and they'd have all this equipment. So during the time in my last year of uni, I started doing events with them, okay? I went and pitched an idea to them to do a party. They just got it on radio, but I thought it would be dope if we did a party that people didn't know about, but it kicked, right? An exclusive kind of thing. So the idea was SMS parties. And they were like, how will that work, thingy? And I remember telling Styles at that time, I was like, just send me 250 bob airtime. And that's when Safaricom were testing the promos of 1 bob on SMS. So I was like, I'll draft an SMS, I'll send it to 250 people in my uni, and then let's see what happens. And that thing was insane. Wow. Insane. Wow. So after that, I started doing concepts with them at Capitol, and then we just go into the industry. So when I graduated, I started managing now Code Red DJs as a unit. Managed them for about 4 years. And then at that point, one of our DJs, Mad Tracks, decided to switch and become an artist. And initially he was both, so he was a super DJ, super MC. But then the more his super MC grew, the less he could be super DJ, because then it's like you can't pay for the DJ rate, and then the guy comes because people are excited to see the artist side. And so as he grew, he shifted more into an artist, and I then moved and worked with him as his artist manager, helped to craft him as an artist.
Sorry, I actually remember you coming to play for me Boda in the car. We were going for your party at, I think, some party you organized at this place opposite Citizen is called what?
Alfajiri.
So Alfajiri, and remember you playing for me the song on our way to Alfajiri. Like, yo, this is the guy called Mahdi, we just listened to this song. So he plays for me Boda. So I'm like, what? Who is this guy? Like, I was like, this is the new shit. You know, as guys already now used to like, hey, who is this new guy? You know, and always
on to the new things.
On to the new, like any new upcoming artist, like he'd always know. He'd always like refers like, yo, like I remember he introduced me like to chorus. Told me, yo, you need to meet this new guys, Manze from Kenyamusicstories. We need to meet this. Like he's always like on that tip. So when you're talking about now Madi, I remember listening to that song then, and I'm like, my God, this is amazing. You know, this guy, his style is different. His flow is different. You know, so
So I managed him for a long time. That was kind of my now entry into artist management. It was also the time he was really blowing up. And so we got into a lot of both the corporate side, but also the event side. I got to learn a lot about artist relations. After that, so I stopped managing him around 2012. At that time, I got a gig through Sony. So Sony were trying to set up in Africa. And they were looking to sign some artists. I'm not very proud of this part, guys, but I'll be honest. Okay, I was involved in the madness. I helped to sign some people off to the dogs. But they came, they asked for recommendations in terms of some artists that we think can go global, that would be dope for distribution deals and what. Around there is where Red Sun got a deal to do distribution through SA. It's where Ecstatic got signed and that. So there was a couple of artists who got signed across the region. And once they got signed, I then got brought on as a talent manager for the artists under the stable. So then during that time, I road managed for Ecstatic, for Ali Kiba, and a couple of people. And that happened for a while, and then I realized fast. Well, I think Ecstatic realized fast.
You're not making as much as you...
No, that the labels are not our friend.
They're not.
You know, that they weren't made for us. They weren't made for us. The arrangements are very exploitative, if that's the word.
They want to own you.
Yeah, they want to own you.
Slavery.
And so it started with a little bit of a sour relationship between Ecstatic and the label, and then slowly, just even in me seeing how the label reacted to that and how they treated her and that, I was like, these guys are not the kind of people. So I broke ties with them. And then after that, now moved into Tanzania to do a bit of like exploration around the event scene. But I'd already been there quite a bit because of managing Alikiba, but also having helped to set up Code Red in Tanzania. So I always play between the business side, and the kind of like the corporate side and the artistry, and trying to connect.
So were you done managing artists after that?
Completely.
That's
too much.
Yeah, I was just like, this is insane. It's also a very like, it's a calling. So to be the guy, and you find it's a calling. I'm telling, and I tell people that a lot when guys come. How do I find a good manager? I'm like, I don't know if you just go and pick one on the street.
Like, don't talk to me.
It requires you to give a lot of yourself. You need to understand that through it all.
As an artist, we are more. Even like right now, as I'm speaking, I'm still struggling to get the right manager.
Yeah.
Like I need someone who gets to this also. I mean, it's very hard to get the person who will like blend, because it's like a vision you need to see together.
Exactly.
Share ideas, because it needs to be. It's not just a contract. It's so much. It's like
and you have to have a personal relationship.
Which like you need to have for them to understand you and now say, okay, now let's do this. This is the plan. So it's very, very. And then also, I don't think we've.
Is it the ego that comes into play, or is it
just structures?
There's a bit of ego. There's also a bit of like, as a manager, for example, if I was to be BigPin's manager, I sign into this deal.
Yeah.
If next month he decides to go on a healing journey and go to India for 4 years, I'm over here like, okay, now I quit my job, to manage you, and you've gone healing. Do I come manage the healing?
Yeah.
So this is part of the challenges of choosing to manage an artist, which for me, having seen many of them, and like you get yourself into that. It's like being in a bad marriage. When you come out of the house, you still smile, and you're still Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so. And so whether the artist is doing good or bad, whether they have side scandals or not, it's your work to represent them and take it. And so even dealing with events and different artists and seeing how artists react to media and stuff like that, and it all falls back. So me, I'm a people person. I like to keep relationships clean, and with artists it becomes difficult. So around 2014, I completely like removed my hands off of artists. I had 50% of my friendship circle is musicians and that. So I kept it cordial. I ran projects with artists. So then I'd sit with artists. We did Kolo's album launch. We did Just a Band's album launch. I helped Modoni launched an album. So I'd work with different artists on projects. But you as an artist, what you choose to do emotionally in life is you. But from this month to next month, when we're launching this thing and this contract says this, we work together, we do this. So I did that. That was beautiful. Around there is when then I moved into the system side, and I liked the idea of being able to build tech to help many people at the same time, as opposed to having to do one. And so it's only now in the pandemic that I've gone back into artist management of projects.
Events are so hard to sell.
Because events are dead, and there's so many dope artists out there doing dope things, and I feel like I still have some stuff I can contribute to that side.
You definitely
can. So I've picked 1 or 2 projects. Let's see how that goes.
So like you being in the event industry, like you have like an ear on the ground, kind of. Do you see with this whole like pandemic going on, like do you see events becoming like what they used to be, like us holding events like they used to?
Well,
the magnitude
getting those numbers,
Well, the better thing than an ear on the ground is data, right? And
data doesn't lie.
I sit on a lot
Numbers
of data because
lie.
of our position, but events are definitely coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
I see us back to what you're saying, the scale we were. My prediction is around 2024.
2024.
However, between now and then, and you've probably already seen it, some of the smaller events are able to come back. Some of the smaller experiences, artists are able to host an acoustic thing for 50 people. So the the big festivals where we'd got into that all of us were aspiring to do will take some time to come back because we need to get into vaccination and all that. But when we look at our data, more than 65-70% of the events used to do less than 150 people. These are the ones that would happen every day. Podcast recordings, food events, stuff like that. So those ones, if the right environment is created where we can check temperatures and support certain things, the event industry can definitely come back tomorrow. The thing that we see is, and as I said, we have like 3,000 plus event organizers. So if you can bring 1,000 of those people back on their feet, it's a lot of people to just be at home being like, events are dead now, what do we do? And that was the lifeline.
People changing the what needs to do. So shifting off to something else. It's like, okay, now once a day, let me try. Let me now do this,
But wasn't the streaming service supporting like the ticketing because you're streaming music on? Wasn't it like helping you in terms of, or people weren't?
So what we've been offering is a download service, right? Which means that the artist then has a link they share to who I'd call their super fans, which is the smallest piece of all your fans, right? Those are the people who are willing to give you 200 bob, 500 bob to have it on their phone. Most of the other people want to pay 100 bob and then just play your song among other songs. Which is something that for us was in the future, but now with the pandemic has led us to be like, actually,
this is viable now because it's economies of scale. If you have like 10,000 people paying 100 shillings as opposed to...
We can all eat. So we're currently in the process of...
all eat,
yes, that's what we want. That's actually the mission. Mook is short for Mukwanja, which is money. These guys are the ones who used to call money Mukwanja in South Sea. So they used to always be like, Ukona Mook, let's exchange some Mook. So that's where the name came from. It actually came from Kina Bigpin's house, right? And so many years later, when we were sitting trying to name this thing, I was like, the missing link is just the Mook. And so then now figuring out how to brand the thing so that it looks cool, but what it said was just Mook. We're here to make sure we can collect the Mook for us, the event organizers, the artists. Everybody gotta eat. So one of the things we'd started to try, we have a huge funding gap in our industry.
Very huge.
Us guys are not supported in music, in entertainment, and all that. So before the pandemic, we'd started to pilot a way to lend to creatives using the data, right? Data is like money.
It is money.
So if I'm able to say that BigPin already sells 50K worth of music every month or every week, how can we make sure that if BigPin needs access to 70K to shoot something or 100K to do something, and I know he has 50K coming in, how am I able to provide that money at a lower cost? And not necessarily my money, somebody's lender's money. So we tested it with a couple events. It was excellent. Everybody paid back, thankfully. No one ran away. No one got $1 million. They're like, fuck that gig. I'm going to coast. I'm going to coast. I'll talk to Porgie next year. Lamu guys, book for me 2 months. 2 months, please. How much for 2 months? Healing is starting now. Sponsored by Mook. So luckily that didn't happen, and so we're hoping that now in the conversations we're having as we launch streaming, as we try bring events back, that can be an arm that we can flex a little bit to say, here's some money to start. Because you find that even for event organizers, if you've been sitting home since March last year to now this time, you don't have that tunes to be like, let me just go book my boneng so that I can use it for my gig. You don't have that 10K to give. So then can I provide that 10K if I know that you'll make 30 and maybe you pay me 5 this time and 5 on your next gig, but we grow together or we do something, or can I get somebody to sponsor the cost of the agents or the scanning or that, so that for you it's a less cost to organize. So there's thoughts we're having, but that's, I think, the theme is we all need to eat, and we need to be eating together, which I think is a good place where the industry has gotten to now.
Bigpins Radius.